Speaking Masterclass. Our plan for today, we want to see what we can do to improve the speaking score. And for that, what we will do is we will look at the fundamentals. This is what these masterclasses are all about. What are the fundamental skills that we can learn that if we once learn and apply, then we can improve our score across all the question types in that section, achieve a higher overall score. And this particular class, this master class is for the speaking section. Now, let me ask you a simple question. Why do we speak? And I'm sure you know the answer that we speak because we want to explain our point of view. Just like this gentleman, he's got a bunch of people around him. He's sitting on the table. Some of them are taking notes. He's making a point. When we want to do that, when we want to communicate, that is when we speak. So if you can easily explain yourself to others, if you can put your point of view across and make others understand that, then that would mean your English speaking skill is sufficiently good. So this is like a benchmark. If while talking to a native speaker of the language, if they are able to understand you clearly, if they're not asking you to repeat yourself again and again, if they have not misunderstood what you have said, then that means your English speaking skill is good enough. How can we achieve this? What shall we do to make sure that others are able to understand us clearly? The most important thing that you have to do, your speech should convey the main points. The way you speak should have enough contrast between important and not important points. Let's say I speak 500 words on a topic. Not all 500 words are equally important. Usually in any speech, there are a couple of sentences which are remembered, a few words that people remember. And those are the ones which carry the most important information. If you can speak in a way that makes the listener focus on the important points, that means you are speaking correctly. So the first thing, when something is important in the speech, you need to put some emphasis on it, stress on it. For example, these are the words where if you put some stress on it, in economics, inflation is a general increase in the prices of goods and services in an economy. When the general price level rises, each unit of currency buys fewer goods and services. Consequently, inflation corresponds to a reduction in the purchasing power of money. The opposite of inflation is deflation. So you see, the words where I want to guide the speaker or the words which contain important information, that's where I'm putting more stress on. In PTE especially, it's important that when you're speaking, what are the important parts of your speech? And you identify some of them to emphasize. Take a few important words, emphasize them, and don't overdo. At the other extreme, if we again go back to that example, if I start saying like this, in economics, inflation is a general increase in the prices of goods and services in an economy when the general price level rises. So you see, this also sounds artificial because now I'm making everything sound as if it's important. You have to maintain that contrast. And that's why just pick a few important words, whether it's a read aloud question or when you are talking about the key points in the lecture, that's where you should put some emphasis. So just identify a few places and emphasize them. The other way that makes your speech powerful is the tone in which you speak. And that's an important principle, intonation. So you have to understand when to raise your voice, when to lower your voice. If you speak everything in the same tone, for example, if you just say, in economic inflation is a general increase in the prices of goods and services in an economy when the general price level rises, what will you call this? You will call this robotic. And we don't want to sound robotic. We want to sound as if we understand this properly, clearly, and we are confident about what we are talking about. Now, if let's say I speak like this, in economics, inflation is a general increase in the prices of goods and services in an economy. When the general price level rises, each unit of currency buys fewer goods and services. Consequently, so you see, I'm raising my tone at some words and at other words, especially when I come towards the end of a sentence, in most cases, I'm lowering my tone. So this rise and fall, this makes my speech more natural. And again, this helps the listener understand what I'm talking about, makes my speech more impactful. Let's look at some key points, some general guidelines you can follow. Because if you are not a native speaker or if you haven't had a lot of experience studying or working in English language environment, then this won't come naturally to you. When you have to show contrast, John has bought a new car, but he doesn't drive it. So the words which show the contrast, raise your tone on it. John has bought a new car, but he doesn't drive it. Another example, I preferred a cloud server, but client wanted on-premise. So you see, the words, the points which show the contrast, you raise your tone on that. That's the first guideline. The second, when you are asking questions, if it's a simple yes or no question, then you raise your tone. For example, did you go to the uni? When you come to the end, you raise your tone. But if it's another type of question, how are you? Then when you come to the end, you will lower your tone. What we discussed earlier, the words where you have to put some stress and emphasis on, that's where you raise your tone. For example, he lives on the most famous street in the city. So most famous, when I say it, I raise my tone. When you have to make a statement, I've been working on my thesis for 5 years. When you come towards the end of your statement, when you have made your statement, that's when you should use a falling tone. Keep it natural and interesting. If it's a happy emotion, I can't believe you won the lottery. So you see, a rising tone. Sad emotions, I'm so tired. That's when you have a falling tone. And at last, when you are listing a number of options, a number of words, when you are listing them, when you are speaking a list, then till the last item, you raise your tone. And at the last item, you fall. So you say, I like comedy, thriller, drama, and animation films. All right. So